The article, using artificial intelligence to detect early signs of Alzheimer's, did an appreciable job relaying the fairly complicated information regarding machine learning as a means of detecting predictive features of Alzheimer's disease. The article not only explained what machine learning is, but also explained how it can be utilized in neuroscience. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence that allows computers to learn without being explicitly programmed. This analysis is a way of discovering patterns in data to identify key diagnostic markers. The original primary article emphasized that although buildup of amyloid plaques and tau proteins have been the key focus in previous Alzheimer's disease research, measuring these in the bloodstream is complicated. Therefore, these diagnostic tests are based on memory. The secondary article went further to explain that memory loss indicates the person has most likely had Alzheimer's disease for decades, therefore it is too late to try and counter progression of deterioration. They further mentioned that the point of the research was to find other hidden indicators in Alzheimer's disease that would be able to be detected in a routine blood test. Also, by having those who were directly involved with the research discussing the purpose, methods, results, and possible future advancements, the information contained within the original source was brought to life. Greg Versteeg, the founder of the machine learning method correlation explanation, or CoreX, utilized this technique to tease out patterns in areas often overwhelmed by large amounts of data. Therefore, he wanted to search for clusters of related factors in medical data that could be correlated with Alzheimer's disease. The secondary article included the critical information of participants whose data was collected. Data from 829 older participants from the Alzheimer's Disease Neuroimaging Initiative database was collected. All participants were free from significant neurologic disease other than Alzheimer's disease. Collection of plasma, cognitive battery of tests completed, and brain scans for baseline and follow-up visits. They collected this data in order to identify predictors of cognitive decline and brain atrophy over a 1-year period. They also included that all of those participants fall under 3 diagnostic categories of being cognitively normal, having mild cognitive impairment, and having Alzheimer's disease. More than 400 biomarkers were collected from brain imaging, genetics, plasma, and demographic information. So the image in front of you is fairly complicated. It is a hierarchical representation of biomarkers constructed by CoreX. Using CoreX across a panel of more than 200 markers of plasma, demographic, and CSF measures, they constructed a hierarchical network based on the joint information shared between measures. They identified 25 latent factors that represent the optimal total correlation across measures and factors. Latent factors are represented by circular nodes and numbered accordingly. Color indicates variable type, as defined in the bottom legend, and gray shaded edges reflect the amount of mutual information shared between connecting nodes, where darker edges indicate more shared information. The size of each node is a function of the amount of mutual information shared among the connected variables. Although they found amyloid and tau to be the most significant, they also found that there are strong relationships with cardiovascular health, hormone levels, metabolism, and immune health. The article further mentioned that vitamin B12, which is important for cardiovascular health, can cause cardiovascular disease in someone who is chronically deficient in it. This addition to the article strengthened their finding because roughly 40% of the U.S. population is B12 deficient, therefore showing how it can be one of the many factors involved in developing Alzheimer's disease. Additionally, they did note that individual predictors are weaker than clusters of variables combined. Therefore, one reading this article that may be deficient in B12 or deficient in a protein secreted by T cells in the immune system hopefully does not jump to the conclusion that they may be at risk of developing this neurodegenerative disease because of just one deficiency they may have. One of the positive approaches to this article was not included a lot of the complicated graphs and data from the original article. Oftentimes, authors include the physical data to emphasize the findings, but those findings can complicate the point. Many people who read secondary news sources that contain medical research are more often than not trained researchers or someone who would know every method or finding being explained. Secondary articles are there to put the dense material into a shorter, summarized form in which the majority of people would be able to follow and semi-understand. By not including all this complicated data into the secondary news source, but rather including a picture of a healthy brain versus someone's brain who has Alzheimer's disease. The ideas contained therein are visualized rather than the person reading the article becoming confused and not really understand what is happening because artificial intelligence is so complicated that the normal person would not be able to understand what is happening. So by not including that and breaking it down enough for the people to read, it is more understandable